Fretboard Summit 2024, and I am way overdue to share a video with my interviews from the weekend. For those who don't know, Fretboard Summit is Fretboard Journal's yearly guitar and luthier festival that takes place in Chicago in late August. This year, and I think possibly every year, it takes place at Old Town School of Folk Music, which was super cool on its own to see. It's a really big school, especially for folk music, so that was amazing. But what that also meant for the festival is that, unlike some other conferences and festivals where they take place in a single giant hotel ballroom, this one is spread out across multiple small rooms across the two different buildings that Old Town has, and so it kind of creates this maze of guitars and luthiers and players and friends and acquaintances, and it was just amazing. I had such a great experience. I'm 90% sure there were some rooms that I just did not find, and subsequently probably some folks that I did not run into, which is too bad, but it was a jam-packed weekend. I had an awesome time reconnecting with luthiers that I had met in the past, as well as some who I hadn't met at all in person yet, but who I felt like were already friends because we've spent so much time chatting and working together in the past. So overall, it was just a really fun experience, and I'm so excited to share this with you guys today. Now, I was there primarily to support my friend Jeff Jewitt, along with our friend Matt Thomas, because both Matt and I play Jeff's guitars, and we just generally love to hang out with Jeff. So we spent most of our time in the one room, manning Jeff's booth or helping him out, being there to answer questions, as well as give Jeff some time to go off and hobnob with folks in other rooms. So this is not going to be like a broad spectrum total review of the festival kind of video or anything like that. I'm really just here to share my interviews with Jeff, as well as with Virgile Pilon of Blind Guitars, who you may already be familiar with because I play two of his guitars. And because both Jeff and Virgile had built guitars and were showcasing guitars that were built from Ancient Cypress, I chatted with Aaron Lucas of Dark Forest Cypress, who supplied that wood, and got the scoop from him about it because it's a really beautiful, interesting tone wood. And not only have Jeff and Virgile built some of the first guitars with it, but Collings, Driftwood, Tom Sands, and Santa Cruz are all building with it as well. And I'm just really excited to help Aaron spread the word about it a little bit. Speaking of Santa Cruz, I'll also feature a little bit of the chat that Jeff had with Richard Hoover, but I won't feature the whole thing because it's rather long, and I'm sure that Jeff will want to put it on his YouTube channel, so I'll direct you to that in the description below, but I'll just share a couple little clips of it because it's really delightful, because Richard is obviously a legend, and seeing him and Jeff interact was just great. One big thing to note before diving in, we were having some issues with the camera gimbal, and it wasn't quite stabilized, so some of the footage looks a little bit shuddery, and the warp stabilization feature in Premiere Pro isn't fixing it. So I'm just going to leave it as is. I'm going to splice in lots of still photos as well. So pardon the shudder. I hope it's still a pleasure to watch one way or the other. And also note that it is a busy festival, so there is some background noise too, but hopefully it'll be enjoyable to watch and to listen to anyways. First up, let's dive into Jewitt guitars. Jeff is going to show off all the guitars that he brought, and we'll get a little bit of playing from Matt Thomas and Tony Policastro, and we'll get a little bit of interactions with Tom Sands and Matt Cholka from Eddie's Guitars. Jeff, here we are at Fretboard Summit 2024. How's it going?
Oh man, well, the show hasn't started just yet. We had a little preview yesterday, and I am just getting started, or getting over that. It was a lot of work so far, but this is so much fun. This is an amazing city. Anybody that's never been to Chicago, please come here. This is the coolest place, and it's just, I could just hang out here.
Right, yeah.
With you guys.
Yeah, the Old Town School of Folk Music is huge. There's so many nooks and crannies, full of guitars. It's awesome.
And seeing all the amazing builders here. It's just, I can't even. A lot of my heroes are here, and they're across the room from me, or across. So it's kind of hard in a way, but I've got 4 beautiful guitars here, including, I've got a baritone, I've got a double O, and 2 OMs, and we're all set for the crowds today, hopefully.
Yeah, just about ready. Well, yeah, let's talk about what you've got here. So, first up, we've got Matt's baritone.
This is my very first baritone. I built it for musician Matt Thomas. And we made a lot of changes on here. Matt is kind of like me. He's a smaller guy. So we did the smallest scale length we could get away with, which is a 27.5 inch. But we made it a 13 fret so that it moved everything down. So it's a little bit more easy to navigate the neck, and it's more like a normal guitar. But the bonus of that was it moved the bridge down in here into the sweet spot of the lower part of the instrument. And the sound out of this thing is just incredible. I wish I knew how to play a baritone. I don't, but boy, it certainly seems like it sounds good.
Part of the idea is slightly shorter scale. It's 2075. Standard size body. 13 frets. So to get to first fret, you no longer have to reach a mile away. It feels familiar. It's also kind of more standard nut width rather than being extra wide. So it kind of flows perfectly in with the other guitar. So I don't have to readjust the later.
Oh, you did the chugger floating. How'd you like it?
I really hadn't planned on it for this guitar, but I did two things. I used the draugut and I used four weights inside. So there's an extra 100 grams on each side on mahogany blocks to lower the top ends.
Yeah.
Get it as low as possible. So we got it to 164. Okay, so I have two OMs here, both with Florentine cutaways. This is Sinker Redwood, and I gotta show it off. This is a very famous set of fiddleback mahogany from what is called the Fallen Giant from Hibden Hardwood, and it's not available anymore, this type of wood. And I've got a couple more sets left, but this was ordered by Matt Cholka at Eddie's, and he basically picked out the wood and picked out this top from, we probably had 8 sets of redwood there. I wet it with some solvent to just kind of show. He goes, that's the one. And then he said, you do what you want to do after that, which was kind of cool. This OM is also Sinker Redwood, but we've got some amazing figured cocobolo on here. This is a Matt Thomas signature guitar, meaning it's got the now famous Matt Thomas wedge on it, the asymmetrical wedge. This beauty will be going to Brick House Guitars in Ontario. It's longer than that. 27.5, I think it's tuned to B to B. Yeah. And it was a 70 gauge on the 6, 16 on the top. Yeah. And on that one, what I did, you can see it really close. Like putting the scale on. This guitar right here is probably the one that I'm the most proud of, because this is called Ancient Bald Cypress. This piece, or this soundboard, was carbon dated to about 350 AD. So I mean, I think that's the time of the Romans or something like that. That's when the tree was felled and died, basically. This is a double O, and normally it's very hard to get a good bass out of a double O, but I did it on this one. This one is also going to Eddie's. Listen to that bass. I'm feeling that on one of my vertebrae too. It's really cool. So this is also going to Eddie's Guitars in St. Louis. They're really excited, and at some point they're going to come up and play him for the first time. About a year ago, I think it was, maybe a couple of years ago, a guy contacted Richard and a bunch of us other people and says, I've been pulling this really interesting wood out of these rivers in South Carolina. It's ancient Sinker cypress. We've carbon dated some of them to 4,000 years old. I go, I got to try this stuff. So I thought, well, if I get this stuff, I got to talk to Richard. So I think we contacted you, and he was so nice. He probably had 100 things going on at the same time. While he was going to pick somebody up, I think at the airport, he called me, and we talked for about a half an hour. But we've known each other for a long time. So anyways, I wanted Richard to see my finished version of it, which is a double O, 14 fret, short scale, with the ancient cypress top, Ziricoti bridge, Ziricoti head plate, Ziricoti all over the place. And now this is something I bet you didn't know. We used wild grain East Indian rosewood, but with my art background and all that stuff, I really don't like that purpley kind of color that you get with East Indian.
That's exceptionally pretty.
So we
brown,
chemically
right?
treat it to bring that color out.
Did you bring enough for the whole class?
You can go buy it down the street. It's called CLR. It's
Oh, yeah, for
calcium lime
lime.
rust remover. It's phosphoric acid.
Wow.
So it's been used by a lot of people to remove the calcium deposits in rosewood for
How
years.
about that? I use a I use
turns
a glacial acetic acid, an old phonochemical for that, and I'm afraid of it. Now that's
Well, you should be.
yeah. That's you know you're not supposed to touch it. Only
Well.
I do. That's a great one. Thank
No,
you.
but it's just you can. I mean, you can just wipe it on with your hands. I
Yeah.
mean, it's real.
Then it also gives it a color?
It changes the color to almost the color of Brazilian rosewood.
It does. It
Look
was
at that.
really threw me. That's beautiful.
anyways.
That's very fantastic.
So I wanted Richard to hear this guitar because I was shocked at
Yeah.
So,
No, I'm
Rick-
not going to play in front of anybody.
Okay.
I've been playing guitar for 60 years. People think I'd be really good. So let's have them believe that.
Okay.
Let's keep it that way.
Well, I'll do a little thing.
yeah, plus it's easier to listen over here.
Bass E. Just I'm feeling it in my C6 or whatever that C10 down there.
That's where
It's
your
a
soul is, yeah.
That's my sympathetic harmonic. Okay.
That certainly worked, didn't it?
It did. You know, we've covered a lot of real estate as far as guitar models and styles go. Everything from a double O to a baritone.
Yeah. Well, as folks might notice, we've got some green themes going on.
Green is the
I've got
theme.
green eyelids, and we've also got green rosettes. So what's the story behind all the green?
Well, I must say I'm disappointed that your toenails aren't green to match.
Oh, I should have painted them. They're purple.
Oh well.
We don't need feed content.
You don't need to dwell on Lindsay's toenails. Okay, but okay, where were you?
Yeah, let's talk about the green theme and what kind of
Okay,
how that
the
got started.
green theme is just sort of kind of developed on its own. But I started my very first green guitar with this one, and it was just kind of like a chrome green, kind of a dull green, and it's a very organic green, and it goes well with these types of woods like mahogany and this redwood. And then this is a dyed and stabilized burl, maple burl, which we cut up into pieces, and we do now. A lot of people are calling it a Jewitt mosaic. I first got this idea from looking at Jason Costel's guitars. I asked him how he does it. I was confused immediately after 30 seconds, so I just sort of winged it. Now, when we went to the green theme for Matt's guitar, Matt wanted a in-your-face green. He thought this was sort of like, dull and whatnot. So we found a supplier of lime green veneer to make the perfume, but it was only available in 11-inch sheets. So we had to figure out a way to make 30-inch sheets. That was a little bit of a struggle, but we got it done. And then this is called Green Juma Snakeskin. And we were thinking of Lindsay the whole time when we were doing this because of the snakes. And, well, I'll just let this, it's snake wood as well. So we got a snake theme going on with this one. Peghead is snake wood. The back and sides of this are just absolutely drop dead blackwood, African blackwood. And notice that we retained a bit of the back here to continue that sap streak up here. An idea I got from looking at Michael Greenfield's guitars, of all people. But this is a baritone, and I wish I knew how to play it better, but hopefully we'll get some demos with Matt playing it.
Yep, we can probably wrestle that up. He's right there behind the camera. So, well, any other thoughts about the experience so far, Fretboard Summit?
This is my first Fretboard Summit. I would encourage, if you're a luthier, to try and get in here and showcase. Even if you don't sell instruments, you know, you're going to make a lot of contacts with people. There's a lot of people that come through here that just aren't kicking tires. It's a great place, but it's a really cool part of Chicago to come to. Really cool. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the show. I hope you are.
Definitely.
I have this one. So Eddie bought this one. This is the Hipton.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you gotta come up and see it. It's the same old movie. It's similar to a lot of it. Yeah, it's just setting up
Yeah, there was a little bit of that stuff in way Uncle built it. And they cut it up and they got a lot of this summer.
Yeah, mine just at the trees.
No.
But he had these guys.
Next up, I chat with Virgile Pilon of Blind Guitars. Like I said, if you have been following me for a while, you are already familiar with his work because I play 2 of his guitars and they've been featured in a number of my videos. This was our first time meeting in real life, and as ever, it was so nice to connect with the person who made 2 of the instruments I've made so much music on. Now, I am so frustrated with myself. I didn't get any demos of either of the 2 guitars that he brought, and they were so great, so it's such a shame. But at the end, I will tell you where you can find out more about the number 100, which he'll show off in a moment. I'm here hanging out with Virgile of Blind Guitars, and if you've seen my videos, you know you've definitely seen plenty of Virgile's guitars. They're amazing, and I'm excited to talk to him here at Fretboard Summit about these beautiful new builds. So yeah, let's just hear about the guitars that you brought.
Yeah, this is actually my number 100, so that was a kind of a big thing for me. It has been 100 guitars since 6 years that I'm starting building with Blind Guitars.
It's only 6 years.
Yeah, that's only 6 years. I'm building like almost 18 guitars a year, something like that.
That's like
that's
some high output.
really good. So I wanted to do something very special for this one. So yeah, this is a new model actually, based on the Ditson shape, early Ditson, that I modified a bit. The lower box is about the size of an OM, and this one is a bit more narrow. And yeah, it has of course a beautiful set of the tree mahogany with a set of Sinker Cypress that is almost 2,000 years old. And yeah, this is my most personal model right now because I wanted for a long time, you know, doing like a small dreadnought. I love dreadnoughts, but I also love like 00 size guitars. So I wanted to mix a bit the shapes and to do something really that personal, something that I really enjoy myself.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously, I mean, presumably you're going to sell this to someone else, but would you build yourself a similar style guitar? Or do you already?
Definitely. I would love to build. For me, I would love to build it, but all mahogany. I'm a big fan of all mahogany guitars with mahogany top. So yeah, but this is my favorite. To me, this is my favorite model, of course.
Awesome.
But yeah.
So the Cypress, that came from Aaron Lucas, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so I'll have to do a little interview with him too because both you and Jeff have done some beautiful guitars with that Cypress that.
This is an incredible top material, very different from everything you can find, but it works very well for guitar making. And yeah, I really enjoy working with it. And actually, for this guitar, because this is the number 100, what I did is I brought the top to a perfume maker where I live, and she made a custom perfume inspired by the smell of the top because it smells absolutely incredible.
Yeah, like you're saying, it's like kind of like it's like sweet at first, but then it
But
gets like.
it has the smell of the cypress, but it has also a musk, like a swamp musk. And when I did resource the sets, I just all the shop, and I was, oh my god, this is really interesting. I love it. And yeah.
Swamp musk doesn't sound quite the nice ring,
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's like
mixing with
beautiful.
cypress, there is something warm to it, and yeah, I really love that.
Yeah, the perfume smells amazing. Obviously, the video, you're not gonna be able to smell it through the video, but you can trust us. So one thing I wanted to talk to you about too is you've mentioned in the past that your models change a lot. You really kind of like are always sort of working on them. And
I think like a bit everyone, we are always trying to improve every guitar. I'm trying to improve my build and to change things, and never settle anything.
Yeah. So how? So like the two guitars of yours that I have are 2021 and 2022.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's any? What are some of the maybe bigger changes that you've made since then?
Laminated sides.
Okay.
No, I only do laminated sides.
Okay.
It totally changed. Also solid linings. And my back bracing changed a bit. I was doing an X brace on the back because I wanted to have like a very active monopole on my backs. And now I'm doing like a transversal brace. I changed it a bit. There is a transversal brace here and then a few finger braces all around that brace. It's kind of how can I say, radiant bracing. So yeah, and this is the main change. I also removed the truss rod from my necks.
Okay.
Yeah, now there is only carbon fiber, like a big square tube of carbon fiber.
Okay.
Which the neck stays straight, whatever happens.
That's amazing.
Yeah, pretty.
So yes, you don't need to have that option to make those micro adjustments. It's just
Exactly.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's straight. It can hold, whatever string section you put on it. And that's much more easier for the musician, and for me. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Was this your first Fretboard Summit?
Yeah. First North American show.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah,
Oh,
but this is my first time in the US.
oh my gosh!
Yeah,
I'm so excited that we all got to be here with you for that. Oh,
really,
amazing!
that's incredible.
Yeah. How are you liking it so far?
That's perfect. It's so good to meet all the builders I've been in contact with on Instagram and stuff like that for so long, like Thompson and guy like that. And now I meet them, and this is really exciting.
Yeah, it's like a kind of like big homecoming for
Yeah.
guitar nerds.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I can't think of any other questions. Thank you so much for chatting with
My
me about
pleasure.
this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Lastly, since both Virgile and Jeff showcase guitars featuring Ancient Cypress, say that several times fast, I wanted to make sure to chat with Aaron Lucas of Dark Forest Cypress, as you can see repping his shirt here. Not only has Aaron been supplying cypress to luthiers, but he's also a builder himself, and he's just full of great stories, so it was awesome to have him to round out this video. I'm here now with Aaron Lucas of Dark Forest Cypress, who is the supplier of all this beautiful cypress wood that you've been seeing on some of the guitars that Jeff built, that Virgile built, and other folks. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. Get the elevator pitch about cypress.
Looking at the history in like the last 50 years, big red books are real big about. You hear people complaining about sustainability and looking forward of availability of materials. And I was running a sawmill and realized that there might be potential with cypress, understanding the logging industry on the East Coast and how many millions of acres have been clear cut and then floated down the rivers and laying in the bottom of the rivers. And so in that endeavor, we ended up finding ancient stuff that is, the super dark green long-term submersion. And so, hoping to offer kind of a full range from 150-year, the young cypress, and 150-year, not counting age of the tree,
Right.
Up to the 4,000-year-old stuff.
Yeah.
So a new alternative top wood, and it's the first conifer since the late 60s, early 70s to be introduced.
That's amazing.
So that's cool. Another little fun fact.
Yeah, for folks who maybe don't know that already, so like obviously spruce, cedar, they're taxonomically related, they're all conifers, and I just recently learned that cypress is also in that family, so it makes sense that it would also be a great top wood. But it's interesting that it never got adopted sooner, so you get to be a part of that.
With when you look and we read about all these pre-war Martin and Gibsons that everybody's all hot trot about, and right at it, they love those because that was kind of the end run for the old red spruce, Adirondack and all that. And at the time, you say, well, why, if these trees are here, why didn't they switch? And the old growth forests were pretty much clear cut 50 years prior to that. But then at the same time, you look at the people who were the industry, who learned from old world masters, and jumping species wasn't, that never even would have come into a playbook.
Really?
Wow. And so, you know, it just, the forests have been gone and other stuff, and nobody ever really thought of it. Because like there was 43 million acres a couple hundred years ago, and it's down to about 3 million. There's 2 stands left, and that's the Congaree National Forest, and then the Blackwater, I think it's called Blackwater Reserve or Preserve. Okay. And those are the 2 last decent sized stands. And otherwise it's in wherever it ended up, in millworks and that type of stuff, siding, cladding, or in the bottom of the rivers.
Yeah,
so,
crazy.
Swamps.
Yeah, so you're down in South Carolina, which, as you were saying, it's like there's not really a lot of usage of southern tonewoods. Like that's
well,
kind of
that's
one of the only ones, right? Or, I mean, other than tropical, obviously.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of one of the going things is that, you know, nobody. Not that nobody wants, but the idea is that when we look at maples, we want maples from further north, and we want trees from higher elevations.
Right.
But I think there's that's a very tricky thing, because we are saying we want high elevation tonewoods, right? Okay. But how long have we been saying high elevation? And why have we been saying that we want high elevation? What do we get from high elevation? We get slowed growth. So we get consistent spacing, right? But outside of that, what else causes really slow, difficult growth? Super dense old growth forests, primordial forests that are gone. So has the thought process that we have to have wood from northern climates come from a lack of old growth forests for more than a century, you know, outside of, but then you say, okay, we can't have hot weather, high water stuff, but we get all these tropical woods, and you know, so that's a whole nother little monster.
Yeah. Well, awesome. So in terms of guitars that this wood can be found on, so Virgile's blind guitar, his not the 100, it's the bigger bodied one, is the number 1.
The J185, and then his, I don't know if it's custom parlor or what, his 100th guitar.
Yes, the Ditson style.
And then you've got Jeff Jewitt.
Yep.
Tom Sands is built with it. Chris Alvarado's built with it. There's a number of Collings is built with it. Santa Cruz. Yeah. Santa Cruz has a number, I think, that they're working on now. I think Driftwood has a couple that they're working on. And I've been shipping globally now. For a while, and there's a lot of wood out there. So there might be a ton more guitars that have been built, and people just haven't gotten to me. I try every once in a while to get out on social media, like, hey, you're building, you know, update me, let me know. I'd love to see it, and hear about what you're pairing with and why you're pairing and what body style you're doing. But yeah, you know, it's rolling along. It's doing good. Yeah.
It's really exciting. And you also mill other woods as well, right?
Here, to an extent, like most people with a wood problem. You know, I'm constantly on like the wood hunt for rare woods or old wood. So if I ever come in contact with stuff and I have to halt myself from looking pretty regularly, then I'll find it. And I prefer in large form so that I don't have to work around where something might have been processed not to the standards that we're looking for in tone woods, because it wasn't necessarily cut with the intent of it being tone wood, especially if it's old stock. But yeah, just trying to, you know, get stuff that great grandpa had stashed away that nobody knows what it is anymore, and so it ends up on a curb and ends up in a landfill, and it's these precious resources that the trees are gone, you know. So that's a hunt in itself all the time. And then I'm trying to work on sinker hardwoods, sycamore, walnut, cherry, stuff like that.
Cool.
But those tend to not be big when we find them, and they're in really rough shape. So the yield is incredibly small, and a lot of times it's more trouble than it's worth. So it's like I have some of all of those, and that's something down the road, you know. But it's the focus now is the cypress, and that's another one of the other side projects to mess with. So.
Well, thank you so much for chatting and sharing some information about this. I'm sure folks who are excited to hear these guitars will really love to know more, everything you have to say. Website, where can they find you online?
airluxguitars.com. And I try to have updated, audio clips and stuff like that, and links and active photos and anything for information. My photography is not always great. So.
Cool. Well, great. Well, we'll make sure to point folks to your website so they can check it out. Thank you so much for getting this far. I hope that you've enjoyed these chats with Jeff, Virgile, Aaron, and Richard, and I hope that you liked all the behind-the-scenes photos. I had a lot of fun taking them. I hope that if nothing else, I can inspire any guitar lovers and builders out there to consider going to next year's Fretboard Summit. It's a lot of fun, and as Jeff says, if you're a builder, even if you don't sell anything, you're going to go and make so many connections and friends, so that makes it totally worth it on its own. Plus, the shows are amazing, the talks are amazing, and the neighborhood of Chicago that it's in was really fun too. There was great food everywhere. It was pedestrian friendly, close to the train, just a really fun place to spend the weekend. Thanks again to Jeff for bringing me out, and to Matt for being my cameraman when I had to be in front. Please make sure to check out the work of everybody featured. I'll put links in the description below. Go follow them on Instagram and YouTube and check out their websites. For anyone interested in the guitars, the Mahogany OM-MT that Jeff showed us is already sold, but the Cypress 00 is available now through Eddie's Guitars in St. Louis. And as we said, Brickhouse Guitars will be selling the Sinker Redwood and Cocobolo OM pretty soon as well, so watch out for that on their website. And Matt's baritone is of course Matt's guitar, so nobody can have that, but I'm sure Jeff would love to build another one if anybody's interested. Wink, wink. I can't wink very well, so I had to say it. Of Virgile's guitars, the larger B51 already has a home with Aaron, but the Ditson-inspired number 100, I believe, will be for sale soon through Eddie's Guitars, so keep an eye on their website for that. It really is something special. Thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for music videos and tabs coming later this month. I'm gonna roll out now with some more favorite photos from the weekend, so enjoy.
Thank you.